Welcome into a daily editorial here on the KE Report. In this daily editorial, I'm joined by Jordan Roy-Byrne, founder and editor of the Daily Gold. And Jordan, let's follow up again on this encouraging precious metals market. Today was a big day with the US dollar selling off quite drastically, and the gold sector, the silver sector, really all the metals benefiting nicely. What we're going to look at in this interview, at least initially, are the monthly charts for a lot of these sectors, because we are coming very close to the end of the month. In terms of gold, gold's sitting right around these resistance levels that people are watching, whether it's 1360, whether it's 1375. Where do you stand? Where would be important as we end the month in gold coming up here shortly?
Well, Corey, it looks like gold is going to close above 1330 for the month, and that was the initial resistance I was looking at, basically 1330 and then 1360, which is around the 2016 high. I think the monthly close is actually 1357 or 1358, but so 1360 there is important. Gold is trading at 1358 right now with a handful of days left in the month. Then you also have resistance at 1400. But closing above 1360, that would be significant, because then we'd have the highest monthly close in about 4.5 years or so. And then there's just a little resistance at 1400, and then off gold can run to 1550. So looking at the monthly chart, it looks like we're going to close above 1330. We'll see if we can close above 1360 because that's the next important resistance. And things just look really good here, Corey. We're having a really strong move. I mean, my only tiny quibble with this would be it's mostly a U.S. dollar weakness move. I'd like to see gold pick up some relative strength at some point, but I guess, we shouldn't be too disappointed in what's going on here, because the precious metals market is acting really well, and the charts are setting up for potentially some really explosive moves down the road.
That's a good comment regarding gold's reaction against foreign currencies, because with the dollar selling off as much as it is definitely lending a hand to this continued strength in the gold sector. But what about the gold stocks, Jordan? GDX, GDXJ, they still have a bit of work to do to get to, well, it's the kind of comparable levels to how gold is looking like it's going to break out. Is this a scenario where, as long as gold can lead, and as long as the miners can finally break out, even if it's on the back of gold, that's still encouraging, and maybe the miners can just start playing some catch up here soon?
Yeah, well, typically, we always say the miners lead, but really we should say the miners outperform, because going back over the last 15 to 20 years or so, in most cases, gold actually leads. And so what happens is gold will break a certain level, and then after that breakout, the miners will really start to outperform. So what we really want to see in a big picture perspective is the miners outperforming. Now, in the very short term, like if you want to look at the price action over, let's say, like a couple weeks or so, then you can look for, in that very short amount of time, then that it's more important to me, at least, that the miners are leading in that kind of recent history in a very short time frame. But in the big picture, gold is going to be stronger than the miners. Just in the very big picture, it's going to break above key levels before the miners. But what should happen is, after gold breaks those key levels, that's when the miners should really outperform and then take leadership from that point going forward. And gold, we're coming up on gold at key resistance at 1375, 1360 in that area. And so I think what we'll see happen is, whenever gold is able to make that big breakout and get to a 3, 4, 5-year high, that's the point when we'll see miners suddenly really start to outperform gold, and at the same time silver really start to outperform. But that hasn't quite happened yet.
No, it hasn't. Not yet, but you do bring up a good point. If gold can break out, then I think that very well could force, or at least encourage, some other traders who are sitting on the sidelines to enter the sector. In terms of the stocks, what about silver? Is it almost the same story for silver as the comparison between the gold stocks and the gold price. Maybe gold, if it can, again, verify a breakout, then silver could get going, because we would usually like to see, again, silver outperform gold in a bull market.
Yeah, I mean, silver, I look at it similarly to the miners, I'm looking at some small charts right now, daily candle charts of gold and silver side by side. And if we just go back to the little top at the beginning of the year, gold just corrected for a couple of days, then it went to 1340, and then it corrected a little bit, and now it's off again. But if you look at silver, I mean, silver had much more of a correction than gold. And silver, yes, before today was looking like a real laggard compared to gold. But what happened today? I mean, you saw gold break above 1345 was important daily resistance. Gold took that out easily. So you saw a strong move from gold today, breaking above short-term resistance. And what happens with silver? Boom, it's up almost 3.5% today. So those are the moves that you can see. Again, when gold break certain levels, that's when the miners and silver will really start to pick up momentum and leadership. And something I've been talking about in my premium service the last couple months is, I mean, in addition to the things I already own, I'm looking for cheap and I'm looking for silver, because if the precious metal sector is going to make a really big breakout this year, you could expect silver to really outperform, and then certain silver stocks could really outperform. I know that there's some silver stocks that have had really good moves already since December, but I'm looking for, I guess, not to say I'm looking, it's like a needle in a haystack, but I'm really looking carefully at, okay, if gold's going to break out, if the sector's going to be strong, and if things are really going to move, I'm looking for the silver ideas that can have 3 to 5 bagger potential over the next year or two. So with respect to silver, that's kind of where my focus is right now.
So, Jordan, what about these stocks that have moved a bit, came off that low at the end of tax loss selling season, which was about now 4 weeks ago, some of these stocks bottomed out at, and they've made some nice moves up. They haven't necessarily broken out, but for the people that feel like maybe they've missed those moves and the stock's already run, let's say 20%, what do you tell them in terms of balancing out whether they're chasing it higher or not chasing it, waiting for a pullback with the risk of that pullback still not coming for a while?
Well, first I would tell them to subscribe to my service. Okay, shameless self-promotion, but I still have a little bit of cash, so I'm looking for, I'm not looking to jump in things that have already gone up 30, 40, or 50%. There are still some things out there that haven't moved that are going to move. And I think, Corey, this is where, I mean, of course, my expertise is in technical analysis, but this is where the fundamentals really matter. You really have to dig into these companies, look at the value, look at the potential value, look at things like the share structure, what's the retail float, is there insider buying, and I actually just bought a silver junior yesterday, and the reason I bought it is because it really ticks all the boxes I'm looking for. The chart was beautiful. Yeah, it had gone up a good amount since December, but the chart was showing this thing could have an explosive breakout. The value was there with respect to the ounces in the ground, the potential to expand that, and its float is really tight. So what that means is that the same amount of buying would push up that stock a lot more than something that could be very similar, but it had a worse share structure and the float wasn't really that tight. So those are some of you have to look at. It's not just necessarily, well, I'm going to pick the laggards and the ones that haven't gone up that much. Yes, I am looking for things that are not that overbought, but you also have to look at fundamentals, because maybe some of these silver stocks that have already gone up 50%, they may have the value and the fundamental catalysts to be able to continue to rise and continue to lead. So looking at fundamentals in those cases, Corey, is very important, because looking at that along with certain things like share structure and retail float and how much cash they have, I mean, those things can help you determine how much upside does this thing really have left. Can this company really be an outperformer? Like, I don't want to be in the things that are just going to perform as well as the market itself. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But in that case, I just want you can just buy the ETF. When you're buying your own stocks, you want to find things that are going to outperform the sector, outperform the market. And so you have to look a little bit deeper. You have to look at fundamentals also. So those things are very important, with respect to, trying to figure out, which of these things are still a good buy and which of these things have already moved a lot and don't have that much more upside left.
And that's one thing we need to understand is that even though a lot of stocks are doing well, it's not across the board. And you still can find value in a couple stocks, and you still need to be very selective because this is unfortunately one of those markets where when everything's so thinly traded, stocks can get run up on not a whole lot of news, maybe just more rumors. And that can really burn people if they have that FOMO moment. They feel like they've missed something. You really do. As you said, stick to the fundamentals and watch the charts. Make sure you understand the true story of the company. And then choose your level to get in at. And as you said, I'll even help you out here, Jordan. Your newsletter's a good one. Everybody click that link below. I sign up for it. And hey, I read it every time he sends out an update. So Jordan, thanks for your time today.